So what I do is, okay, I start my morning. If it's a weekday, I usually look at the stock market first, and then I'll drink some water. It's amazing how much time is different now than what it was just a year ago. A year ago, I was working full time, actually at home, and I was taking care of my bedridden wife, and I was being grilled by my boss on a regular basis about the quality of my work, my punctuality, um, and my inability to keep up with the rest of the team. So I was slowing the team down, and then I made extensive PowerPoint presentations about how to do my work that I was every day. I would do the tasks. Okay, it was several pieces of software, and each particular software program I did a specific thing with in order to get an end result. So there was one main piece of software that was used as it was the platform that I was creating and updating and adding to it. It was the inner user. The username would get in there, and then they would be able to find what they were looking for and order it online. And the whole thing was every piece of equipment and every different kind of machine that the company sold. They had a part that if they broke the part or if they needed to replace it for whatever reason, they could order it on a catalog. And their catalogs were going from just a PDF book with a bill of material and a list of items in an exploded view illustration, or mechanical illustrations of the equipment. The customer could order parts or assemblies for replacing any part of the machine online, and it was all it did it. We trans we made a transition from being all PDF documents to being interactive electronic parts, digital parts catalogs. So it was tied to MRP, it was tied to the purchasing department, it was tied to all the other levels of the company could use that to gauge future orders, inventory, keeping on tracking inventory. So it had to be all the illustrations. So if you've ever worked with computer aided drafting, excuse me, I seem to get a hoarse throat whenever I start talking on here. But if any of you have ever done computer aided drafting or mechanical illustrations for like desktop publishing or just catalog illustration, machinery, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Now, the native CAD programs that the machinery and the mechanical and electrical components were developed in, that software it was every kind of picture. Well, so like let's say electrical illustrations, all the line weights had to be the same. All the font had to be the same font. It had to be the same font style. The headers had to be all the same. The table of contents had to be consistent and match and be the same. And then the index at the back of the book, that had to be all the balloons that called out the mechanical illustrations that were exploded views of the machinery, all of those drawing views and the balloons and the lettering all had to be consistent from page to page. So if you go to one page and it shows the whole piece of machinery, the top level piece of machinery broken apart with the top level designated numbers for each part of the machinery, the diagrams for that, those consistently had to match line weight and font size and illustration styling, I would say too, that you didn't want you didn't want somebody that put balloons down and called out the part numbers in a kind of in an inconsistent pattern. So what I had to do was like I spent a lot of time and I had to massage the artwork so that it all looked the same. Every page in the book looked exactly like it was the same. It came out of the same shop. So you didn't go to one page and it was like real lightweight with thin lines, and then the text was really tiny, and then you go to the next page and the object is blown up big, and it's the lines are thicker. Or there had to be the most challenging, difficult part of the position that I had as an illustrator and a machine drafter was getting everything to be uniform and consistent. And then I wasn't supervising anyone. I had to try to communicate with my supervisor, the engineer. I had to communicate with him the problems I was having, because they had a team of drafters there, mechanical drafters and junior designers. And I had to work with each one. And if each one decided to make the drawings look different, a different style, or use different fonts, or use different thicknesses of lines, or somehow showed they didn't use the standard isometric views, or they were turning things odd, or they were showing things in positions that the operator would never see the part of that machine that way. So I had to make changes. I had to show section views, and I had to show orthographic projection the proper way. If you cut something in half and then you turn it, you look at it from where it was cut, you see the profile of it being cut as if you were cut it in half, take the object and turn it towards you and look at the cut area. So a lot of times they didn't do that. They would cut it and then they would show this way. They would show like the opposite. And there's a standard ANSI that it's followed in the United States and most of the world. It's called ANSI standards, and it's the orthogonal projections. So I had to do, and I think they didn't realize that. I don't think they realized how much time it took me to make everything look uniform for the illustrations. And the other part I had was with that. Working at home, right? I was like, one of the nice things about working at home is you get to not to have to hassle of getting in your car and driving somewhere. Because if you have a good computer and you have good internet, high-speed internet, and you're able to do video conferencing, you get a nice webcam and a microphone, and you're able to have an area set aside where you live that's only for working. There's nothing in there, nothing in that part of the room or in that room itself that has anything to do with things that aren't work related. So you essentially take that part of your apartment, your living space, and you make that into your office, and you restrict you're only in that part of the house when you're having to work. And you have the thing that I wanted to do was just work in my own hours. I didn't want to, I understand that I had to be there for customer service, right? If the customer contacted me and they needed something during the business hours immediately, then I could be there and respond to them. And if one of my coworkers needed something right away or needed to respond to me, I would generally have time in the morning. First thing, I'd have an hour, and then I would take a long break because I'd be tired in the morning. I'd be work. I'd get up at 7, right, and start at 8, and then I work, and I'd be tired, and by 10 o'clock I'd be off. And I'd take a break, and I'd take a longer break. And at the time, I was helping my wife, so it was more, I think, different. It would be different now. I could just sit there and concentrate on what I was doing without being distracted so much, without having to make somebody breakfast, make them coffee, changes, do this, do that, because they can't get out of bed, and they can't. There's a lot of things when you're confined to a bed. You can't. There's a lot of things you need other people to help you with. So while I was working, I'm doing that, and most of the time I liked I liked what I was doing. I thought I could just do this. This is not too bad if I just if if they if they were to allow me to work late hours or earlier hours or off hours on the weekends just to be just to do paperwork. So because, well, 90% of the time I was doing the kind of work I was doing, most of it, and I'd say 90% of what I was doing, I could just do at any time. I could just do it when I felt like it doing it, and just make sure I kept the work, kept up with what was expected of me in the workload. If I got real busy, I could just stay up late, because it would be funny, I get tired in the morning and I go back there and I take a nap, and I get back up at noon, and then I'd start work again after lunch, and I work for like 2 hours, and then I'd take another break, and it'd be like, oh, I draw the break out. I'd start making longer breaks, um, and so, but I was always available if somebody emailed me or called me on my phone, or I got a bell notification to join a chat, or to go join a meeting, or if I had a meeting scheduled, I would always show up. Usually I would never just not show up. Or if I couldn't work that day, I'd say I'm having to be sick today at home, so I'm not working today. But when they said, no, you got to be on your computer from 8 o'clock all the way until noon. You can't leave your computer. You can't clock out. That's what they said. You can't just clock out and then go away from your computer for an hour or 2 hours or for whatever period of time, and then clock back in and then work late and then finish up your day like that. They wouldn't allow that. Even though if somebody contacted me, I'd get right back to them. I would check I just wouldn't be sitting at my desk working. I'd be away, because it was easy to do that for the situation I was in. But now I think if I did tried to do the same thing, I would be more successful at it. I would just dedicate all of my time, and I do really good. I would really be dedicated to my work. And now that I'm not having to take care of somebody all the time. So it's kind of weird. I got to adjust myself. Being with someone for 30 years, and now they're gone, and they leave you here in this place, and you're supposed to, just go out in the world, make new friends, find other people, be social. And if this thing weren't around, if somehow the particle count in the air, where there was a lesser particle count, or the air was filtered, or the air was protected with purged with UV light, or passed through a HEPA filter, if the building that you go into, whether it's a store, whether it's an office, whether it's wherever you go, if you're going inside somewhere, then we should have it all figured out how to filter the air by now. We should have figured out how to filter the air, how to destroy any kind of thing that's in the air that's a hazard, and make the air safe for everybody that's in the occupying that breathing space. So I would have thought by now they would have figured out a way to do that. But no, they're intent on putting something inside of your blood. So they want everybody to have something in their blood, so that when they come into contact with whatever, that their blood, whatever is in their blood, made their body more resistant to whatever is in the air, right? So let's not clean the air. Let's try to get everybody to be resistant to what's in the air. And they're using that methodology as a means of solving a problem. I'm sorry, my nose itches. You know what is? My hair grows inside of my nose, and so then when I start talking, my hairs move in my nose and make my nose itch. But what I was going to do was I was going to call my support person and have a chat with my support person, let them know what was going on with me, and that, I put